It is an honor and a pleasure to have you guys all here with us for this month's Keto and Carnivore Collective. And today is our first meeting and the first lesson. And the way we structure this normally is on Mondays, we'll do our lesson. And then after the lesson, we'll answer any questions you guys have, do a little Q&A session there at the end. On Thursday, we'll do just a straight Q&A. So on Thursday, we'll be here at the same time, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be here to answer any questions you've got.
Which is 11 a.m. Eastern.
That's 11 a.m. Eastern. Good morning, everybody. How's it going? Thursday, 10 o'clock in the morning. It's been a couple days since the first meeting where we talked about laying the foundations. We talked about macronutrients, micronutrients. We talked about how to set up the basics, the starting blocks of a ketogenic or carnivorous diet. Got quite a few people looking to lose body fat, which if you're trying to lose body fat, a ketogenic carnivorous approach is the pinnacle tool. It is one of the most powerful tools you can use to lose fat. You set it up right, it's very easy to maintain, right? We talked about how important it is that we set up long-term habits. It's not just about losing 10, 15 pounds real quick and then going back to doing whatever we want as far as diet goes. Right? If we're going to do this long term, we've got to set up a diet that we can enjoy long term. And that doesn't mean you have to do keto carnivore forever. Right? You can modify some of these habits later on. But as far as the starting point foundations, this helps you lay a foundation of getting sufficient protein, getting the animal fats that you need, and eating a majority of your diet from the foods that satiate the most, and that's animal foods, right? Nutrient-dense protein and fat sources, namely from animals. Of course, there are some plant foods that are great, but if you make your diet mostly, especially when you start out, right, the baseline diet around animal foods, you're going to have a set of sustainable habits that you can enjoy and maintain for years. Right? Even if you do end up having some carbohydrates later on, which for some people here, Jessica and I were discussing this earlier, we know that some people here might benefit from some carbohydrates due to their circumstances. But if you set up the majority of your diet as animal foods, that is the one habit that you can maintain for the rest of your life that can really bring you a lot of health benefits, can help you keep your hunger low, can help you to burn that fat, it can help you to ensure that your body is strong and functioning in peak form. So a ketogenic diet should be based around mostly animal foods. If you're doing a carnivore diet, it should be ketogenic. Right? You want to be burning fat for fuel. And the easiest way to do that is to fill up on enough protein and fat to where you've got satiety, to where hormonally you're balanced, to where you're getting all the micronutrients you need, all those fat-soluble vitamins that you need, all those essential amino acids that you need. And it's going to keep your hunger low. It's going to be very, very easy to burn fat long term and maintain that fat loss. So it's really easy habits. You get to eat all the best foods. It's not really very difficult. It's not really a irksome thing to eat all the most satiating and essential foods and not have to worry about a lot of the unessential stuff. It's really easy. It's really fun. Got quite a few people here today in the chat. I'm going to open it up. We could do some Q&As. We could talk about your individual situations. We've talked with several of you guys and gals so far in private messages, and it's really great to see how well everybody's doing already.
Yeah, there's been big changes already.
Yeah, lots of big changes, like instant changes.
Yeah, it's super exciting to see.
You almost get numb to it. You see it so much, right? It's like just you're so used to seeing this, and but it's so cool to see. We got two Suzannes in the chat today, both Suzannes. We got Janet, Jesse, Elsa, Bart, and Adam. Let's start over at the bottom. We started at the top on Tuesday. We'll start at the bottom, and we'll go with Suzanne 22. Suzanne 22.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hi. Great. How are you?
Really good. Really good. What are you up to this morning?
Oh, well, I just had my breakfast and I'm having my coffee while I listen to this. So, good morning so far.
Awesome. Awesome. So, are you in British Columbia? Vancouver?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. So, unless the other Suzanne's also in British Columbia, Vancouver. Cool. So I'm looking at your questionnaire right here,
Okay.
and you're looking to lose a little body fat, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
quite a bit of that body fat. Well, you know what's crazy? That's actually not that much. Like quite a bit.
They're both in British Columbia.
Well, to
Oh
me.
wow. Okay. Well, we've got two. You're both in British Columbia. That's crazy. Both
Two
Suzannes,
Suzannes.
both from British Columbia. So
That's where this started.
let's see. But we think this is you.
Does your last name start with a K?
Yes,
All
that's
right.
me.
Cool.
Gotcha.
All right. So, what have you done so far? Have you already lost some weight, or is this the starting point that you've been at
You
for a long
know,
time?
I've been keto for about a year, and I've probably lost 20 pounds over the year. Not much.
Wait,
But
20
I'm
pounds is
finding,
a lot. 20 pounds is a lot for a year.
well,
You
I
maintain
guess.
you maintained it. You
Doesn't feel like much.
have
Doesn't
you
feel like
have
much,
you
but
bounced have you bounced back at all?
yeah, I bounce back and forth 10 pounds here and there.
Okay.
Very much an emotional eater, I've come to find out.
Yeah.
I can't gauge my hunger. I just want to eat.
Yeah. So
It's
so you're
hard
you're
to
human.
battle.
You're human like us all.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's so easy. I mean, it's food is meant to nourish us, right? And it is comforting, right? And it's
Yes.
so easy to wire ourselves with it as a comfort mechanism and start using it and as a drug. We want to regulate our brain chemistry. We want to regulate our emotional state. And food is really powerful at doing that because it's one of the most basic things that we need. So we're designed to desire it. And it's
Exactly.
just, it can come out of balance, right? What's cool about what you're doing, especially, when you do keto, some people bounce back and forth a lot with keto when they're not eating enough of the right foods. I don't know what you've been doing, but
Yes.
how has the keto diet been? How did you start out and what did it look like?
Well, being a type 2 diabetic, I kind of curbed my carbs before I found keto. I've always been much of a meat eater. I come from a Latin background where they roast a whole pig. So, I eat nose to tail. I always have. But the starches are my problem. And so getting off that was a struggle. I did manage to do it. But being type 2 diabetic, I find I crave sugar. So I use the sweeteners and the cakes and all the garbage that keto,
Yeah.
offers you.
Yeah.
And I found that to be a problem because I would say, oh, okay, well, I've been good today, so I have one of those little cakes and whipped cream on top of it, and so
Yep.
I think that's been my nemesis is the late evenings battle with the chocolates and even though I'm not even using sugar,
Yeah,
it's still
for
blood
sure.
sugar. It's still triggering my brain.
Totally. No,
So
some of these foods, and
yeah,
chocolate's great. Look, chocolate's a really good food. It's got a lot of fat. It's got a lot of saturated fat. Our body wants
yeah,
fat, and the sugar with the fat, those are, if you're used to not having an abundance of food around all the time, sugar plus fat every once in a while, it's great. I mean, it's something sweet and fat, like you're gonna put on weight with it. But if we have that available all the time, it's so easy to overdo it. So yeah, if we can get, first of all, cut those out and go towards more animal foods, meat and fat, and increase the fat a little bit, so you're getting enough fat, or it might not even mean increasing the fat, just making sure that you get enough fat at the right time, right? So the timing is important. You're getting those hunger things hitting you at night. Sorry,
right.
I think I heard a dog. Was that a dog? Okay. Chicken in the kitchen knocking over stuff on the
Yeah, I don't
countertops.
think Tristan and I took it in the right order because I tried going keto and then I tried the fasting thing and I got all out of whack with that because then I overate. So that's why I wanted to come to you guys to do it in steps and get it done right. I'm not worried
Yeah.
about the fasting right now. Just eat, like you said, a lot of good quality meat, get satiated. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, and
So,
I mean, you could even do some shorter fasts every once in a while. Do 18-hour
right.
fasts like
Natural.
once a week maybe, but you don't need a lot of fasting. Especially, look, maybe when you were going through those binge periods, maybe your body wanted some nutrients, and it was like you're having those binges to try and satiate certain nutrients at a certain level. That can go on. Some of it can just be straight up emotional attachment, right? And we're using it to regulate how we feel, and we're used to our stomach being a certain way, right? And if our stomach is filling up consistently to the same level, and then we're eating foods that are a little bit smaller, we're not used to that, right? Stop eating the starches, like you get less full as far as the physical mass, but you're eating more dense foods. Some of that can play into it too. So, yeah, let's work on the timing. Let's work on not doing too long of fasts. What time do you eat?
I'm up at 6, and usually I'm eating around. Well, most days I should say I'm eating around 11, but today I decided to eat earlier and see if I could hold out for an early dinner. And that I don't really like 3 meals a day. I feel too much food, but
Yeah.
twice a day is good for me. And the
Yeah.
nighttime is the struggle, is the snacking, the night,
Yeah.
the pork rinds, the garbage.
Yeah. Hey, pork
That's
rinds are better than, they're better than a lot of other foods we could be going for, but
not
yeah,
when you eat a whole bag.
yeah, no, and the fatty acid content of pork rinds, because it's got a lot of omega-6, because those things are eating
Right.
so much corn and so much soy, like that.
Oh yeah.
In those types of animals, they'll deposit more of that fat as omega-6 rich fat, whereas with beef and with ruminant animals, you don't get as much of the polyunsaturated fats deposited in the fat stores. Even if they're eating grains, even on commercial
Right.
beef where it's eating a lot of grain, you're not going to see the level of those polyunsaturated fats, which are basically, it's similar to vegetable oils, what those do. And those really can affect insulin resistance and probably affect your blood glucose levels the next day and your blood glucose control. So,
Oh, it's super high the next day. Yes.
yeah. So, and that's one of these things, like people are like, oh, look, yeah, fat doesn't cause insulin resistance. That's not necessarily true, right? It's like, well, fat can cause insulin resistance, and the plant-based crowd, they do get this right, and they make this point that yes, fats can cause insulin resistance, but it's not, it's not these animal fats from ruminant animals. It's the polyunsaturated fats that we're eating in the vegetable oils. But if if we're eating pork that's low quality and a lot of low quality chicken, we can also get similar results. So let's focus more on beef, lamb, sheep, ruminant animals that have multiple stomachs and that digest grass, and you'll feel a little bit better too. And meal timing, let's do 2 meals a day. A good split is at like 9 to 11 o'clock for the first meal. If you want to put it off a couple hours from when you wake up and have it around like 9 or 11, that'll let you fast a little bit in the morning. And when you do
Right.
eat, you don't want to be super hungry, right? We want to
Yes.
time the meal before you're starving. So
Okay.
have that meal early in the morning, but not, don't wait till noon, but you don't have to do it 20 minutes after waking up unless you feel like it. You can.
Okay.
A meal within an hour of waking up is a great idea sometimes. So breakfast and an early-ish dinner. So dinner at like maybe 6 or 5:30 or
Okay.
something.
Can I ask you a quick question before you go?
Absolutely.
The bone. I made a batch of bone broth yesterday because I thought maybe if I have a cup of it in lieu of the pork rinds,
Yeah.
before I go to bed, that might be better for me to
How did it?
calm down my snacking urge. I
Yes.
haven't done it yet. I just made it last night, so
Try it and
I'm
have
hoping that would work.
add a little bit of
I mean,
salt
but
to
bone
it.
broth is bone broth okay? Is what I'm trying to say.
Bone broth's
here and
great.
there, and it's
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
It's great. Look, all right, so check it out.
Grass-fed meat.
Yeah, grass-fed beef. Look, you have a cup of bone broth, even if that's got the fat from the tallow, which does make it taste a little better, and even if it's you put a little salt in it, imagine that versus a bag of pork rinds. A bag of pork rinds
I
is going to
know.
have like maybe like 100 grams of fat, some of those bags, and so
Yes.
you're eating even the grams of fat are less, but it's going to be. I think you'll feel really good with that. I think that's a
Great.
great idea. That's a really good call.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to this
Y- y-
journey.
Yeah, and you kind of got this usually happens. We end up talking about a lot of the principles that we talk about in later lectures, but what we're doing here is we're optimizing your meal timing to reduce your hunger through hitting your body with the signal that it has satiation, that it's gotten the nutrients it needs, and it hits the hormonal triggers before you get super hungry, and that just helps you regulate and keep down the hunger levels. So you're optimizing your circadian rhythm when you do this as well, and you're going to help and affect how you sleep.
Good.
Late night snacking, it makes it hard to sleep. When you're not sleeping well, blood sugar is out of control the next day. Just real simple principles like this of timing the meals right are going to affect you at multiple levels and influence you to go in the right direction towards fat loss.
So overall, you suggest a 7-hour window of eating, like 11 to 6 or whatever. something
You know,
like that.
I mean, 9 o'clock in the morning is fine. 8 o'clock is fine. It doesn't. We're not necessarily worried about the window. We just want 2 meals,
Yeah. Okay.
right? So
Well, I'm not really hungry till 11, so I'll just wait. Yeah.
okay, cool, yeah. If you're not hungry till 11, eat at 10:30 though. You know what I'm saying? Like just a little bit
Before I
before,
get
just a little bit before, and see how that affects it. You're just tricking your body, right? You want to eat when you're not super hungry, and sometimes every once in a while you want to let yourself get a little hungry, right? That's not, it's like it's bad to get a little hungry, but
No.
right now, I think it's better to stomp out the hunger before it even hits you because you've been playing around with the hunger and that state of hunger messes with you, right? Like, so you want to, if you find that getting into that state makes it to where you're going to make those poor decisions, you just set up little habits and set up roadblocks for yourself so you don't hit that state, right? Like eating before you get there. And you're going to be, yeah, you're managing your kind of psychological state when you do that. And that's the eating is really, it's a, emotional eating is not, everybody does it. Like it's ubiquitous. People eat food to comfort themselves. They eat food to recover from traumatic physical injuries. Right. It's important to eat food. So it just gets hijacked and it gets out of control.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, great.
Great to meet you, Suzanne.
Yeah, great to meet you too. Thanks for your information. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Let us know if you need anything. We're here for you, and we'll be
Okay.
here again on. We'll be back here again on Tuesday too.
Monday.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
Monday, not Tuesday. Monday.
Monday. Okay.
All right. Well, we've got Suzanne, also in British Columbia, which is. I wonder how many people.
What are the odds?
Yeah, they're probably the only two from British Columbia. Right? They only.
Probably.
Oh, yeah. Probably are. Most of them are in Quebec.
Nice. All right, so we talked about on Tuesday. We talked
Monday.
about. Oh, I'm sorry, Monday. On Monday or Tuesday, or on a day other than today in the past, we spoke about protein levels and fat levels for you, and we set up the macros. How have you felt with the adjustments?
Good. I was trying to do 2 meals a day, but just not there yet. I think I used to have like one coffee with cream, and that would get me through to one or whatever.
Yeah.
And now that I'm not doing any dairy, cream or anything, I think I just tried to do the 2 meals, and then I was getting really like all I could think about was eating or not eating sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I've just been doing 3 meals, and I'm getting. They've never really tracked macros other than the carbs too much, and that was making me a little crazy because I was finding, if I tried to get the right amount of protein, then it shot the fat way up, and then vice versa. So,
Yeah.
but I think I'm sort of feel like I'm getting a better handle on that.
Look,
And,
if it doesn't have to be perfectly balanced. Look, if you're getting around
No.
the right amount of protein and you're not adding crazy amounts of fat to it, like also when you're tracking with MyFitnessPal or something, some of their values are just not that correct. Like you'll look at if you're having a steak, for instance, there can be a very big difference from one steak to another.
Yeah.
There can be like 10 to 20 grams of fat differences between the same ribeye steak that's 8 ounces. So
yeah,
so don't drive yourself crazy with it, right? Try to hit the protein
Yeah.
about, and if you're not adding exorbitant amounts of extra fat, you should probably be fine and make progress.
yeah. No, I'm finding that, and I sort of got that, realizing I'm just trying to allow sort of a margin for error. But I'm feeling good, and I've actually dropped a couple pounds since Monday, which I hadn't been able to do with what I was doing before.
A
So,
couple pounds is a lot. Anything more
Yeah.
than anything over 1 pound a week is a lot of fat loss, especially if you maintain it.
yeah. So I'm feeling good about that, and I got your cookbook too, just to sort of try and the carnivore one. I mean,
Nice.
get a sort of more of a handle on different sort of options, and I've done a bit of shopping, so I'm starting to branch out a little, get away from the pork and more into got some lamb and stuff, and I've had the
Perfect.
beef and everything, so
Perfect.
just trying to look at that. And
What about what kinds of beef have you had? What like cuts of meat have you been going for?
sirloin, ribeye, ground beef. Trying to think if there's anything. That's just been the last few days, so
Cool. Yeah,
um,
great. And there are other options. Like I mean, those are all great. Those are more prime cuts, right? Like those sirloin,
yeah,
ribeye. Those are the best. And if you can get them affordably, those are like some of the best. Sirloin's a little bit lean, right? Sirloin's if you're eating carbs, like eating sirloin, if you're trying to like lose body fat, it's a little bit lean, right? If you're
Okay.
But that doesn't mean it's bad. That doesn't mean don't eat sirloin. It's just like understand that you might be a little bit hungry sometimes if you just had sirloin one day and that was the only like beef source. It's going to be pretty lean, and you could maybe add a little bit of fat to the side of that. Maybe a dollop of butter on the top of your sirloin. Like you want to get a
Yeah.
you want to just you'll learn how to get satiety, and your body's going to know what it really needs after a time. And there are different slow cooking meat, for instance, like getting just chunks of whatever is affordable off of the animal and throwing it in the slow cooker. That's something that we do all the time. About overnight in the slow cooker, 10, 15 hours is, and it's pretty soft. The middle will still be nice and juicy. Anything more than that, it'll start just breaking apart. Like 24 hours,
Yeah.
you're gonna have, kind of a, I don't know what you'd call that, like a stew, I guess, more of a stew, thicker.
Yeah.
So, and that's a great way of getting a lot of collagen. You can throw the bones in there with it. So, and then you could just pick it off. In the morning, you throw it in the slow cooker. You pick it off in the morning. You throw it in a plate. Have a couple eggs with it. There's good breakfast. So yeah, just finding the affordable cuts in your area. The book actually helps with that. The section in the book where what's that section called?
It's a 2-page spread, and it's about making meats affordable, really. So budgeting tips, and then how to buy in bulk. And we find that connecting with local food producers and finding people in your area as directly as you can. So how do I phrase this here? Buy the food as direct as possible, right? So I like recommending the website Eat Wild to anybody in the U.S. specifically. You can look up by state and zip code and find a surprising number of people in your area that can either deliver, or they have weekly meetups where you can go and pick up your food directly from the people who raise it.
Yeah, we've got a few things going on in our area, but I'm kind of limited by freezer space. So
Yeah,
um,
that's one
and
thing. That's something we ended up doing, was getting a chest freezer. It was a really good investment. A couple $100 usually you can find one.
oh yeah, I'm just limited in space. I'm in a condo, and
Yeah.
right at the moment we don't really have anywhere to put a freezer, unfortunately.
Mm.
But
You could
I'm
put a
I'm
mattress on
I'm
top of it, make a bed out of it. No, just kidding.
not a bad idea. But we've certainly got some things, not as much as in the States by far, but
Yeah, and that
we've got
does
different
that. Sometimes I forget how much of a changing, or like a game changer, that is, having the freezer,
yeah,
because it makes it to where you have to shop a lot less.
yeah,
And you can buy
yeah,
in bulk.
But it's also fun to shop for meat, right? If you've got a few places, they've got different stuff all the time. Every time it's, I mean, I love getting a batch of steaks. You look at them. There's some of them
yeah,
have so much fat on them, and there's all these different. I don't know. Just you get like 10 ribeyes. Every one of them's different. So it's
yeah. And I've been I'm shopping. I watched since I was doing keto. I just more so watching different flyers and things to get a sale, and I can get grass fed at different places. So that's working out. I did quite well the other day when I went out. Got quite a few discounts. So
great. Yeah,
and
and
I'm feeling good about the sort of branching out. Like I'm just sort of playing it safe because I know I love ribeye.
Yeah.
And I did have liver in there too, which I quite like. And then I want to branch out into some of the sort of less expensive cuts, but we're just learning how to prepare them so they're tender, like you said, in the slow cooker. So
have you ever seen tongue anywhere? I mean, have you ever
yeah, I
seen?
think I have, not for hardly in the. I'm trying to think. I have in the butcher shops,
I
which we
wonder.
don't have that many around anymore, but I have. That's going to be a bit of a stretch for me at the moment.
Yeah. No,
The idea.
Yeah, I guess the idea.
Yeah,
I don't know when I got over that, but once you get over that and you try it, I mean, I hadn't really tried it very. I don't know.
Seriously, like we've had it a few times.
I've had it a few
before.
times and I didn't like it that much. Maybe I just took one or two bites, but she made it a couple times the last few weeks, We have a tongue right now, don't we?
It's such an impressive meat.
It's so
the way
good.
to prepare, right? So you have the whole piece, which is a tongue, and you put it in a pot. You cover it with water. And you simmer it for 3 hours. Like that's the essential, most easiest way to do it. And then the outer layer, that like thick part, you slice it, and it just peels off. And then under that, it's a cut, and it looks like it's like a piece of roast beef. You can thinly slice it, you can dice it, you can shred it.
But it's so juicy, and it's got a taste that's different than any other meat on the body. And the fat that's in it is it's very different. It's
the fattiest piece I think I've ever had.
And when you think about what the tongue does, it's one of the most mobile and dexterous and sensitive muscles in a ruminant. You know, they have a very large tongue, and they're throwing that thing around all the time. They communicate with it. There are a lot of like mitochondria in it, which is what produces energy in the body. It's such a cool. I'm not going to be offended if you don't try tongue. By the way, don't worry. You don't have to pretend to try tongue or something. But I'm just, for everybody listening, this is a cool one to try. And if Suzanne, who we talked to before, she's from I think she said Latin American background. So I think maybe her family was into.
No, not me.
Not you.
The other Suzanne.
The other Suzanne, yeah. So a lot of Latin American families have tried this stuff. I hadn't tried it as a kid, and
no, that's what's funny about living here in Ecuador is that the tongue is one of the hardest pieces to come by.
It goes first.
That and then the liver sells out, and then kidney and heart. All the organs, those organs specifically, are, if you don't get to the market early, then they're gone.
Yeah. Shows how much we've been sanitized in North America, I think.
Yeah. You're not used to going to butchers. Butchers are closed because people just buy stuff at the supermarket. They buy stuff that's shrink wrapped, and they think it's cleaner for some reason. But yeah, it's a shame. I think hopefully this butchers make a comeback, and we get more demand for it. I think we're seeing more people get interested.
I think so.
Like there's a small portion of the population that becomes very interested, and then I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, what about sleep and how's your sleep been?
Well, it's been kind of hit and miss. I actually was up from 3:30 today. I was taking it's called U-Dream, and it's like some kind of a natural thing the doctor recommended. But I'm trying to think about getting off of that, and I know that I sleep, like I think I was reading somewhere, listening to you about the sort of blackout curtains, and I know when we've been in hotels and things, I always love that. I sleep better. My husband likes to sleep with the drapes open, so we have an ongoing battle.
Oh no! Yeah.
I know, it's terrible. Anyway, I'm in the process of getting new drapes, and I'm going to order blackout drapes. But I ordered a mask today for
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I've peeled them off before. This one's supposed to be better for staying on and everything. So hopefully it'll help me out anyway, because I know I'm really light sensitive, and my rhythms get kicked out really easily. You know
what? That's a really good call on the mask. I hadn't even thought about it. I'm sure there are a bunch of new designs for these masks for blacking out. A few years ago there was scant selection, and all of them just kind of...
Well, yeah, I've only had those little sort of silk ones that are cute that they sell with pajamas before, people have given me, and they're totally useless. I have them ripped off within I don't know how long.
Yeah.
But these ones seem sturdier, and I don't know what they're made of, microfiber or something, but anyway, they sound a lot better, and people who say that they've tried every other one are positive about these ones, so we'll see.
Yeah, let us know how it goes.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Yeah, the sleep cycle, it's an important one, but you know exactly what you should be going towards. So you know what to do on that, and it's just one step at a time. You see how each thing affects it. But maybe that mask that you've got coming will be the final nail in the coffin of the sleep issues.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Taking a bath or something at night, like light a candle, take a bath, turn the light off in the bathroom, and that natural light from the candle is really relaxing. So that can be another thing you can do, is just read a book in the bath for 20 minutes, then get out, bring the candle with you and then blow it out, throw the mask on, and you kind of just manipulating the light that you're exposed to. Um,
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, I know I've tried to. I've been taking the. I mean, I've known about this before, but the devices. My husband's a techie, so we've got like 18 different things plugged in the bedroom too, and I've at least taken the stuff off from my side. So
yeah, well, that's nice. You're having patience with him, and just you can start. Does he have bad sleep, or is he fine? Does it never bother him?
uh, he sleeps like anywhere, anytime, any position. 3 seconds, he's gone.
Yeah, so he
Total
just doesn't
loss.
get it. He's just like, "What are you talking about?" No, this
Yeah,
is not the
he
problem.
said just close your eyes.
Some people can, yeah, that's funny. No, just share with them, and once you start making these changes and they really help with you, then I'm sure, I don't know, I'm sure he wouldn't mind making a sacrifice and plugging those things in outside in the other room or
Yeah.
something.
Mhm.
Yeah, cool. All
Yeah.
right, Suzanne. Well, thanks for sharing. Glad you're on the right track, and let's keep going.
Great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, have a great day. Good
You
weekend and
too.
everything. We'll see you on Monday.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye. Got Janet. Is it raining outside?
No, I think it's just the shower.
Hey, Janet. Let's see. Janet's on cellular phone. She's on a mobile device. Sometimes when people are on mobile, they walk away. Jesse, you want to jump in, Jesse? Where's fun?
Hey.
Hey, Jesse. What's up?
Oh, just another day.
Another day. Let's see. All right, here's Jesse's. You're in Arizona, right?
Yes, I am.
Was it 8:30
It's
there?
getting hot again. It's supposed to cool off by now, but it's starting to get warm again.
Where in Arizona are you?
We're just outside of Phoenix in Peoria.
Yeah, so it gets really hot.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
I like the dryness of Arizona's air, though. I feel like when I grew up in California, I always had allergies, and I think those desert climates, I probably wouldn't have gotten allergies in. The grasses and stuff.
Yeah, it's better, but it's kind of weird when it gets we we have pollen blooms at weird times.
Oh
Like
yeah,
everybody else is celebrating Christmas, and I'm getting like mucky eyes and stuff because something
yeah.
decided it was going to bloom in the middle of December.
We get that here. We get these blooms. It's like they're just these massive changes in
Mm,
pressure and in moisture in the air. Um, it always stays at a nice temperature, but you get these changes in moisture and massive blooms on all these plants around, and it's just there's a few of them throughout the year. Um,
I mean, it's cool because we just all of a sudden the desert looks beautiful again, just in the
yeah.
middle of nothing.
Wow.
There's sort of an order, but then there are the no, like all of a sudden everything will be pink and yellow and pretty.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's beautiful.
anyway,
Cool.
yeah,
So
it's a
how's
nice place to live. It's different.
you've lost a lot of weight so far, like from 2017 to now. How much have you
Yeah.
lost?
Remember, it was like her whole like two children were born
It's
fresh.
been teetering right around 100.
Okay. Wow.
And a little less. I mean, from my actual first scale weight, I got as close as like 99 pounds. I haven't hit that 100, but I know that I have because I know that I was heavier than my starting weight. So I just like to say 100, just round it off and call it good instead of. Well, I think it was about 98.7.
Yeah, no,
It was
it's
100.
100. At one point in that
It's
day,
100.
at
We're
one
not
point
bad.
that day, if you'd weighed yourself, it would have been 100, right? Maybe when you weighed yourself, it
Exactly.
was a pound heavier, but yeah, you're there. That's amazing. So, how the
I'm
last
there.
couple days been? We made a couple suggestions on Monday.
Well, a little different trying to eat earlier in the day because I just feel, and I'm not opposed to it. I actually would love to just eat whenever I want, but when I start earlier, I feel like I'm more apt to eat 3 meals because I guess I've gotten into that rhythm of eating around 11 and then sometime between 5:30, 6:30,
Yeah.
something like that. And so if I eat at 9, I still want to eat at 11. So
Yeah.
that's why that's why I kind of prolong the morning. And so shifting it so that I'm eating at maybe
8 o'clock in the morning, and then finishing off around 3 would be better. But it's a transition for me because my body is just kind of used to what it does.
You know,
So,
and if it either one of those could work, what happens is your body, like you said, your body adjusts to what you do. It'll adjust to the feeding times that you
mm,
give it. 2 days, the first 2 days, yesterday and the day before, would have been the most difficult in transitioning.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if it wasn't completely unbearable, I mean, you're you're just seeing how it's affected, right? So you could even just start when you make a change, you push it back 1 hour each day for a few days and just kind of
right,
taper into it. That can work, but it's not it's not of it's not the most important thing, right? Like we want to keep hunger
right,
low, and we want to maintain a consistent schedule of feeding and keep hunger low as well as we can throughout the day. So if that's happening and we're able to consistently get in the right amount of protein and fat from the right foods and consistently get them in at the same time, we'll see within a few days if you're making progress or not, within a week or so.
right. Well, and I kind of think that it's good. I think it is kind of good to switch up your feeding times every once in a while because your body gets complacent and just starts hanging out. And so if I do start eating, early and then finish early for a week, I think my body's going to go, whoa, wait a minute, and then just kind of kick back into fat burning mode. That's the theory that I have in my head. I just, we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're gonna see what happens, and um, yeah, I think in a couple days we'll have a better idea. But the first few days, it's difficult when you change your eating window. Very difficult. Some people they'll do a restricted eating window a few days a week, and but
Hmm.
eventually you get used to it. Even when you're doing that, right? Even if when it's like every other day you're doing a restricted feeding window. Like some people do this and they get used to it. They adapt to it. So the body
Yeah.
takes time to catch up, and the circadian clocks kind of have to they have to adjust and they have to sync up with what you're doing.
Yeah. And historically speaking, I have always been the snacker. Oh, I don't eat much, but all day long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's part of what got me into trouble in the first place. So the fact that I try to be more regimented on myself. It's been a couple of years now, so I'm more used to it and stuff. But I don't ever want to go back into those, just pick a little here and there all day kind of thing. So, I do push myself sometimes, and that's why even once in a while I'll do like an OMAD day just to say, okay, you can do this.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to eat. You can, but you don't have to. It's just kind of a mind thing for me because I
Mm-hmm.
just don't ever want to be that person again.
Nah, you're not going back to it. Some of us. I mean, you're so used to being that person. It's like
Yeah.
and you're so recently out of it, but you have this. You're determined not to go back there, and you have to. Yeah, you're gonna do it, right? If you're sick of that, you don't want to go back there. It's not something to fixate on so much, and just maintain consistency with the meal times, and your body's going to adjust to whatever meal
Yeah.
timing window you give it. Really, that's what it comes down to. Some are going to be better than others at regulating hunger at the right time, and we've got to. And sometimes the body changes when it gets hungry. Like just suddenly you start getting hungry at
Mhm.
3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you don't know why. These things happen,
Well, yeah, and that's what's funny is I don't like I honestly could care less about food anymore most of the time. I'm just like, I don't even want to think about food. I don't want to cook it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to eat it until my body says, okay, it's time to eat.
Yeah.
So that's the way I am most of the time. And, but when I'm not, I'm super not. Like most of the time, like I could care less about food, but then once in a while, I'm just like, oh, I just want to like make some creative crap and eat all this good stuff and just enjoy my food and whatever. But most of the time, I'm just kind of like, I don't care what we eat. Like,
Yeah.
don't ask me what we're having for dinner.
Yeah.
What are we having for dinner? I don't care.
Yeah.
Mom, what are we having for dinner? I don't care. Like,
Right.
whatever. Just eat some steak or have some eggs. I don't care.
Yeah, we'll see. And the fact that you've got those foods around, those are the most important foods to eat. Those are the essentials. Everything else is extra. So it's like nobody, if you set it up right, you're not having to think about it so much. You're getting different cuts of meat regularly. You're getting what you can affordably around you. You're getting high quality foods, and you're cycling in the good animal foods when they're available. And everybody will be happy. The kids are happy with the situation because they're always actually nourished and fed, and they might give you shit because they want whatever. I want some pizza, or I want this, or I want that, and you're just like, no, we're not having that tonight. And as long as they're getting, like foods like you mentioned, if you're having some eggs, you're having some steak, the kids are having these foods, like they're fine. They're getting everything they need. They're gonna grow. They're gonna be healthy, and they're gonna have those habits when they're adults, and they're never gonna have to go through the problems that we might have had to go through as far as attachments to food goes.
That's the hope. That's the absolute hope. You always want to do a little better than your parents. I want my kids to do better than me.
Yeah.
And like my daughter, for instance, she doesn't. Well, she loves her carbs. I mean, she's 13 years old. She loves her carbs, but I'm finding more and more. Yeah, Mom, I don't feel like eating anything carby today. What else have we got? And I'm like, that's perfect. Like I'm not gonna push hard on her, following a diet regimen. But when she comes to me and says, I don't feel like eating this kind of stuff, I'm like, well, then you're learning on your own.
Yeah, and they learn. They learn how to regulate it. Our kids go through days where they're eating loads of fruit and they want a bunch of that stuff, and
right.
we give them carbs all the time. We don't think carbs are bad, but then they have days where they just mostly want some meat and they're not thinking about food so much. So I think that's as they're growing and they have the right types of foods around, and if they're not just you're not feeding them kibble and junk food and if we're not goldfish, exactly, goldfish and high seas
goldfish, the
and
bane of my existence. Mom, we never get goldfish.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's like there's like this weird texture that sticks in your mouth, and it's so unique. Some of these foods that have these weird, they're like they're like chemical weapons against your satiety. They just
right?
they want you to. They're like they're like heroin. They're just all of these foods. Goldfish. I used to eat a lot of Doritos and stuff. We get the mixed bags of chips from Costco, and it's just a box of. Oh man, and I would like demand those things. I would need them in my lunch. My dad would make like little sandwiches and stuff, and I would just want all the junk. Like I wanted candy bars in there.
Did I lose you, or are we still here?
We're here. I can hear you. Can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. I got some kind of notification that I was disconnected.
Oh, it could have just been your.
I can still hear you.
Yeah, maybe it was your internet. Well, Jesse, it's been really nice chatting. I'm glad you're doing well. Stick with it. You're going to see some big changes in the next few weeks. You just got to be consistent.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of kind of dialing it back and paying better attention. Because I am not a tracker. I hate tracking. It just gives me really bad flashbacks from other diets.
Yeah. But you want to set it up to where you're not having to. It's like we're setting up the habits, like the meal timing,
exactly.
The meal timing and the meal size. You don't have to think about that after a couple weeks. You're just gonna know, right?
And that's the thing. I'm so good at eyeballing it and stuff like that. But I'm glad that I'm kind of forcing myself back into tracking because it's just kind of bringing me back to a baseline. And I have realized that I'm not carb creeping too much, but I'm maybe getting in. We talked about cheese the other day. Definitely too much cheese, So just cutting back the cheese, I feel I'm looking at my macros and they just look better.
Yes, and when the biggest thing
nuts,
is,
and just even the little handfuls of nuts. Like I know I only eat, like maybe a quarter of a cup in a day. But what if I have a quarter of a cup 2 times a day? All of a sudden it's like too much nut.
Yeah, if you cut out snacking altogether, it eliminates most of the problem for a lot of people. For a lot of people, it's just the snacking is the issue. So you're spotting these things. You're understanding what's going on. 2 to 3 meals a day at the right time, without snacks, and you get enough food in those meals. You're not going to have to track in a few weeks. It's just like you said, you're training yourself again. You're honing it in. You're throwing some discipline in there, and after you discipline yourself, you don't have to think about it anymore. It's just like learning any skill. Once you get the basics down, you don't have to think about it anymore. You know, when you learn how to throw a ball or something, the first time you do it, it feels goofy as heck, and you can't. You know, it's really difficult. But eventually, you can control it. You don't have to think about it. It's memory that's ingrained in your
Right.
muscles. You get muscle memory for it. Same with preparing food at the right time and dialing in the diet. So you're there.
Yeah. I just need to find more of these odd bits. I think that's probably another challenge is around here. You would think, oh, Arizona, there are cows and farms and stuff. It's very boutiquey here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So all of this stuff when I was living in Minnesota, I could go to a farm and a farmer and say, hey, let's work out a deal. Here, it's like, well, let's go to Scottsdale, farm, steak boutique place, and then they hike the prices way up
Yeah,
because it's trendy,
Scottsdale's crazy. Yeah, Scottsdale's like
Yeah.
Beverly Hills of Arizona, right?
And that's kind of how it is here. It's like everything, they people realize the value of good meat, and so it's become very trendy and very boutiquey. And
Uh,
so, you know, we don't get away with, oh yeah, just go to your local farm. It'll be really cheap. They'll work out a deal with you. It's like, oh no, we see these people coming from a mile away, and we're gonna
right.
charge them for it.
Yeah, you gotta. Well, what if you go closer to the border? Does it get a little bit cheaper? Like if you get, or does it just get more like mass-produced Walmart type stuff?
That's actually a good question. I don't usually go um, that close to the border. I just haven't ever really traveled in that direction.
Yeah.
But I should look into that
Just look in the
more.
next
I mean,
county.
it's a
The
few,
next
it's still a
county.
few hours away.
Yeah, we'll go. We'll look at just like one county over or something that's a little bit less boutiquey, and where there's less frivolous money flown around, and you might be able to find some farms in
That's
that area.
that's where the farms are. That's
Yeah,
where the farms are. They're the ones who sell to Scottsdale.
and they won't sell to you directly. I bet they would.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure they would.
Yeah, and if you got a freezer,
But
do you have a freezer?
I would like to get a trunk like what you were talking about. I got an okay freezer.
Yeah, a chest freezer changes everything, right? It's like the size of two big coolers.
Yeah.
You can fit a few weeks worth of you can fit a month's worth of meat in there, um,
Yeah.
for a whole family.
No, more than that.
More than that.
Yeah.
3 months.
Oh yeah. Growing up, we had a trunk, and my dad would fill it with venison. Whole friggin' deer.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So you get a half a cow or something. I mean, start looking into that. Get a half a cow. Like
Yeah.
that might be. You get a chest freezer. Get a quarter of a cow, half a cow. Talk to the farmers. That's probably the best way to go. And it's just you could do 1 to 2 weeks, 2 times a month. You could shop and get a variety of stuff that's really fresh, and you have some good fresh stuff, and you freeze some of it. 2 times a month, going for a 1 hour drive might save you a
Yeah.
lot of money and a lot of time too. Ultimately, it's just 2 times a month on a Saturday morning or something. Drive out or whatever day you're able to, Friday or something, if the farms are only selling those days.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, you actually had me thinking about something else. There are a lot of other keto people. This might be a good tip for other people too. There are a lot of other keto people in the area. Maybe we look into start co-oping things, get together with some other keto friends and, hey, let's all go in on a cow and split it up. You got me thinking.
Yeah, exactly. 3 or 4 people going in on a cow, and you'd be surprised at how affordable that makes it.
I've seen
Right
links for
on.
that kind of idea on Craigslist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can look up on
Wow.
Craigslist. Look for people who are sometimes it's self butchering, right? So it's like somebody raised a cow and they're gonna butcher it up and they want to split it or sell, portion out.
Huh.
Look up the term cow sharing or cow share.
I never would have thought of that.
Yeah,
That's a really
yeah,
good
it's
idea.
pretty cool. And if for everybody else listening, if you go to the meal prep room, in the very beginning, the first pinned comment, I think it is, it has a keto and carnivore shopping list, and in both of those PDFs, there's like shopping resources in there. So there's tips on where to get some food and some tips on how to buy direct, right? So Craigslist will be one, eatwild.com will be another. I think wholesale or whole share is another. There's some directories in there where you can link up with people who are looking for the same kind of food and on a budget.
Yeah, you guys are offering the resources. We have to remember to use them. You know,
That
you're
helps.
doing all this work
Yeah.
for us.
Right on. Yeah. Well, Jesse, thanks for sharing. There was a lot of valuable stuff there for other people listening, I'm sure. Thanks a lot for offering your perspective and for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
We'll see you on Monday when we're here again.
Sounds good.
All right.
Right on.
Bye, Jesse. All right, Janet, she was trying to unmute, but she was looking at eatwild.com. She said she wasn't able to unmute. Janet, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear
Hey.
me?
Yep. How's it going?
I'm doing well.
All right. You're in Fontana. I used to live in Riverside. I forget if Fontana was like it's on the way to LA from Riverside. I think off the 91 somewhere. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm right off the 210 and the 15.
Oh, the
It's
210.
right in the middle.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Mm.
Well, how's it going this week?
So far, so good. I've actually, before starting this program, I went full on carnivore. No idea why. I just decided to make the jump, and then so now I'm on week 3 of carnivore, and I'm feeling great. It's been a great 3 weeks.
You mentioned in your questionnaire that you had like 2 months of basically like a binge. How that
Yeah, I went crazy.
what happened?
Here it's like there's a lot of tacos and Mexican food, and there's there's get-togethers, and so you start just eating all the junk if it's around, especially if you don't surround yourself with people that are in the same kind of you know path as you, and
Yeah.
they're just like, hey, one thing, this is not gonna hurt, just one thing. It's the peer pressure as well.
Right?
So yeah, I kind of fall into it because my husband's not really he does low carb, but he's not full on. He'll still have beer, and he'll still have the snacks and the tacos, and so
Yeah, beer will
just the
do
first
it. Beer is
yeah.
because with beer there's always other things. It's like, oh, I had some beer. Well, like, let's have some pizza. You need to soak that up. You gotta.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then out here we have the in and out, and so it's really a slippery slope when you start and you say just one meal's not gonna hurt, and then you continue on. Well, after this week I'll come back on. So I had 2
Yeah.
months of that, and my body was telling me to stop. My inflammation was so bad. My knees would hurt just even going up. I have a 2-story home. So even going up my stairs, my knees would go they would like really just, I would be in pain. I would have to stop halfway.
Wow.
And at 35, you figure that's not supposed to happen yet, So I knew what it was. I guess my body kind of, I'm more in tune with my body now. So I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna go cold turkey, and I totally just didn't even go keto again. I just went full carnivore. I've been following people for a long time, and I was fascinated by it. And so I'm like, how can these people survive on meat and
You're like that probably.
salt water?
Yeah, you're like that's so lame. That's probably so boring, right? And then you try it,
Yeah.
and every other food sounds boring to you afterwards. You're like, yeah, everything
Yeah.
other than anything that doesn't have meat sounds so lame. It's like every meal's got to be mostly meat. Even if you start eating some carbs
Right.
or something, then you're like, man, like it's such a great reset, and it's so good for autoimmune stuff and for chronic pain. And you start removing all the possible irritating foods. You digest them better. It's really amazing.
It is. The first week, instantly, I felt 100 times better. And so I kept, so I have 2 Instagrams. I have one for just my food stuff, and then I have another just for personal. So I decided to get rid of my personal one. Well, it's still there, but I just don't log on to it. And so I continue on this food one where I just follow all the people that are carnivore, and that really has helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Just seeing those motivating posts of just like keep going, like you won't go back, and it's been working. I mean, I'm in week 3, and if you knew me personally, you would know that this has been a challenge for me. Like,
Yeah.
I I am one of those people where I would totally just cave at the sight of like French fries,
Yeah.
and so I had to just get in that mindset, surround myself with podcasts too. Like I binge on
Yeah.
podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm doing it all just so that I can stay there and not go back to the inflammation because it's really bad in my body. Like I have carpal tunnel,
Oh
and then
man.
I already have like back issues. And the heavier I get, and the more inflammation I am, and I'm in pain all
Yeah.
day, like pain.
Yeah.
And then I find myself. I say I'm probably because I'm a little on the heavier set side. So I always say I'm the chunkiest hippie you'll ever meet in your life because I like to do holistic stuff
Hmm.
and I don't like to take pills. But I was popping pills just to be okay for the day. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying painkillers. I'm just saying like
Yeah.
just the
Man,
aspirin and stuff.
you know what's crazy?
So
Well, aspirin's not as bad, but Tylenol, for what it does to the gut and what it does to Advil as well. The non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, they
yeah.
really mess up the
Hmm.
gut. So they'll make it to where we're more likely to put on weight, and they'll also make it where we're more likely to have emotional issues. Like they mess
Right.
with these things. You know what they mess with? They mess with the areas of the brain, and the mechanism is through the gut, but they work on the other areas of the brain that deal with like empathy and that deal with human interaction. So it makes us miserable to be around after we take a lot of these
Right.
types of things too. So it's like a double whammy that we get, and we're just trying to maintain daily life. We're trying to have trying to reduce our pain, but we get duped, man. These pharmaceutical companies, they make a lot of money down the line after screwing people up with side effects from drugs.
Oh yes, definitely. And I feel like for women, it's a lot more. Or we get probably the worst end of it
Dude,
because
it's normalized. They
of
get you on birth control when you're like
right,
12 when you get your first
right,
pimple. Oh, you got a pimple. We better put you on a really powerful birth control so you only get your period,
right,
once every 3 years or who I don't even know what they do now.
right.
But it's crazy. And then they get off, Accutane, man. They get the kids on Accutane,
Hmm.
um, and it screws up their liver long term, screws up their gut really, really bad. So there are so many of these things that women are getting just attacked with this stuff, and it's a shame. But what is crazy is so many of these women who've had their fertility and their life wrecked. They go carnivore, and some of them not even full carnivore. Some just keto, and they get their
Hmm.
fertility back. They get a lot of their life back, and their body switches back on physically. So
Right. I'm back on track like that where my body will tell me I'm glad that I have these I'm very I can pick up on the signs that my body's telling me to like, hey, you're messing up, man. Like, get back to it because, you know, it does mess with me. And then I have two young girls as well, so I try my very best to make sure that nothing messes with their little bodies and their hormones and early on, so they don't. In the long run, they can make their own choices as they grow, but right now I'm responsible for them, so I'm trying to give them all
man,
the grass fed and the hormone free stuff, because of this very reason. I
yeah,
don't want them to be,
yeah,
somebody's test, piggy,
yeah, yeah. Well, and if you give them the right habits when they're young, you teach them how to eat, and you have the good foods around, and you build their habits. You always have eggs. You're cooking them good quality foods, and it's based around quality animal fats and proteins. They're not going to stray too far, right? Like eventually they might try some other stuff, but they're going to know that they feel different, and they're gonna have really good habits. I mean, our kids,
Right.
we're fortunate enough to like have started early with our kids. They've just always had good foods around since our daughter was a baby, since she was a year old, and our son was raised on weaned onto really good animal foods, and they don't they'll have
Yeah.
some cake like once a week. They'll have some cake or something. It's like it's not they'll have some pastries once a week, but they know that they don't get that stuff every day, and they know it's a treat when they have it, and they know what's real food.
Right. I've been following you for a while, and I do remember you sharing your daughter being so little, and then I followed you for a long time. So finally, I'm just like, you know what? I need to get on this program. I need help because like I know that you would be the one to be like lay everything out and help and be more informative.
Well,
You just
thanks.
won't throw the program at us. You're very informative, and I really appreciate what you and your wife are doing. It's amazing.
Well, thanks. We're glad to have you here and honored that we can be, of any help. As far as kids go, it's really I always love when people with families come on talking to people who have kids because it's super important that we nourish them correctly and we give them good habits so that they know what food is, so that when they're adults, and I mean this stuff, like kids are coming home from school now and it's like, mommy, daddy, I want to be a vegan now. We're destroying the planet and all the animals and we're killing everybody because we eat animals. Like kids are coming home with this
Right.
type of stuff and parents are like, uh all right, like cool, like let's go vegan, like that sounds cool. I love my
Hmm.
kids, like I don't want to mess up my kids, dude. I watched the TV
Oh
and they told
no.
me I should go vegan. It's like people are just, it's so sad. We get duped and our best intentions get used against us. And so if you have these good habits in the house and the kids know what good food is, and you don't allow the schools to radicalize them against you, and tell them that they're killing the planet and destroying Simba's house and burning down Bambi's forest when they eat meat. Um, if you if you give them good habits, you're not gonna they're not gonna have to deal with that later on, and then your grandkids will be able to have a good healthy life and won't get duped as well, because this stuff has been going on
Right.
forever. This the use of food to control people and make people dependent or even addicted, and using drugs to control people's behavior and getting them addicted, and these are old tools, and if we can equip our kids to understand how to nourish themselves, how to be healthy, what to eat, what to consume, and what to avoid, then they're
Right.
gonna have a way better life in general. So I think it's awesome that you're doing what you're doing.
I feel even if they like right now I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they started asking me about like, well, where do we get our meat from? And so those questions are coming up. And so um, when Jessica said there's the We Eat Wild website, that's why I was looking, because I know a lot of farms do tours, and so I'd like to show them that. And there's actually one like not too far away from me, and so it's Primal Pastures, and they respect the animal and how they raise them, and it's all about respect, and I feel like that's what they need to see. And so I'm happy that I was on the Eat Wild today. So I'm gonna set up a tour for them for all of our whole family to go and see how they're raised and how they butcher them, and the whole process.
That's
I think
so
that
cool.
they'll
Yeah, that's super important. And the schools
yeah,
used to do that type of stuff. And then
right, they
the
did.
last few decades, they've just become essentially, um, I mean, it's so dumbed down. The schools are so corrupted, and the stuff that the money gets spent on, it's really silly. So that
Right.
these things, you have Taco Bell, and or when I was in school, when I was in high school in Southern California, like I went to a couple high schools, but when I was in Carlsbad, at Carlsbad High School, or no, it wasn't Carlsbad, in Riverside, in middle school,
Hmm.
at the middle school we had Arby's sandwiches, microwave shrink wrap Taco Bell burritos, three different
Hmm.
types of Taco Bell burritos, and Domino's pizza stand. A Domino's pizza stand. It was just all big food, big ag, industrial, shitty food, and that's what we had to eat all middle school, and I think in high school it was like that too in Riverside, but then in Carlsbad we had open campus, so you could leave school and everyone go to wherever restaurants they wanted, which that was really cool. So I would go to like this Mexican restaurant where it wasn't still not the healthiest always, but they used real food.
Hmm.
They had real beans and cheese and sour cream, and they made all their tortillas and stuff. So,
Right.
but yeah, it's crazy the food that the kids are given in the schools. It's trash.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's great. Yeah, no,
Um,
you tag us in some pictures if you end up taking any on when you go to the farm.
oh, definitely I will. Yeah, I'm gonna see when it's a good time. We're also very busy too, which makes it easier for us to just be like, hey, we're just out here, let's just grab a burger. But I do stay at home with my girls, and so I have the ability to just bulk, like cook everything, and so I do. I have healthy meals on hand all the time, just for that reason, because I don't want to, for myself as well. Like I don't want to get off my path, and so um, yeah, I think it's important to, I just got to do the work. Sometimes I get lazy. I just don't want to do it. I don't. And it's easier to just say, hey, let's go buy something out and just eat junk. But I think about long term, and it'll definitely hurt us in the long run if I continue like being lazy.
Yeah, but you're not going to. You're gonna keep on track. I think
Right.
it's everything you told me is great. Let's keep making sure that you're getting in the right amount of food at the right time, right? You know, try to get in at least for you. You probably are gonna want at least like 100 grams of protein a day, minimum.
Okay.
You know, 100 to one.
I did have a question for you though before I
Yeah.
get sidetracked again. Um, I do CrossFit 5 times a week, right?
Okay.
And I usually it's fasted because I do it early in the morning. That's the only time I get
Yeah.
to do it. And so I have noticed since going carnivore, I'm so sleepy afterwards. Is that normal? And am I exhausting my adrenal glands? What can I do?
Yeah. I mean, how are you sleeping? How's your sleep?
I try my best to be in bed by 8:30. Usually my girls are down by 8:30 no matter they needed sleep, so
So
I
you get
usually
sleep
go down as well.
and you're sleeping well.
And I lately I have been sleeping very well.
Cool.
I don't notice any. I do get up to use the restroom about once. Sorry if that's too much information, but I do. Usually like around 2 in the morning I'll get up, but it's usually because I've been drinking water so much
Yeah.
throughout the day. I feel like right before I go to bed I drink at least like 24 ounces of water.
Okay. I mean, it's hard to tell. What you mean when you're exhausted after the workout? Does that mean you're exhausted the whole day, or it's just right after the workout? You're just like, oh, your CrossFit's crazy. CrossFit's really intense, and first thing in the morning, that's pretty intense. You know, so it's. I mean, could you be messing with the adrenals? Yeah, it might not be optimal for your adrenals. You could be forcing a workout that's a little bit harsh for you, or it could be totally fine. Assuming that you're getting enough protein and fat, and you're getting the micronutrients you need. Salt, right? Like if you're not having enough, if you don't have enough sodium, and you go and you work out and you deplete all your sodium, you sweat a bunch, and you're not replenishing your sodium, that could be a major issue too. So making sure you're getting enough salt would be one thing to look at.
Okay.
If you could time a meal an hour before the workout, like a small meal, even if it's just like 3 eggs, like have like 3 eggs that morning before the workout. And
Okay.
another thing is do CrossFit every other day, 3 times a week instead of 5 a week. Give yourself a day off in between. Like you don't want to be going in there
Okay.
super sore, and you're going into a workout and you're already sore, right? I mean, you can overtrain. That's real.
Right.
Like I do it every once in a while, and I'll just get sick for a few days. If you get like a cold for a couple days, you tax your immune system. So we don't want to. I don't want to take away your CrossFit, but understand that it's really harsh on the body. It's not easy on the body. Maybe just decrease frequency, right? 5 days a week down to 3. Salt before, maybe
Okay.
couple eggs with salt before the workout, like an hour before, so you're not burping up eggs during the workout,
Yeah.
right? So like, yeah, those little adjustments should be good.
Okay.
Make sure you're getting
All
also
right.
as far as like the amount of protein and fat. I want you to make sure you're getting at least minimum 110 grams of protein. A little bit over, that's fine, but just make sure you're getting in at least. That could be about, I don't know, a little over a pound of meat a day. That's going to be if you're just having meat. If you're having enough fat, that would be probably around 20 ounces of meat a day,
Okay.
like a pound and a quarter of meat minimum. So if you're eating ground beef, it's a little different. If you have a ribeye with a bone in it, it's like it becomes a little harder if you have bones in the meat. So, but yeah, try to get in enough of that meat. If you're cooking it a lot, you might be degrading the potassium content of it, which for some people they feel a difference. If you're getting thick cuts of steak, it's kind of nice because all those juices, you don't lose a lot of nutrients when you cook something like that. Whereas with ground beef, some of those juices can kind of get dispersed out. They kind of drip out. So thick cuts can also sometimes be helpful for making sure you're getting a lot of nutrients. But yeah, understand CrossFit. That's like every time you go in and do that CrossFit, you're draining nutrients. You're increasing your metabolism. You're blasting a workout. You're using nutrients. So you're going to be hungrier, you're gonna be tired if you don't get enough nutrients. And yeah, so let's make sure all those are covered, and you should be good.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Nice meeting you, Janet. Thank you for joining.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great having you. Let us know how the farm visit goes. It's exciting.
Yeah, I will definitely. Thank you.
All right. Bye bye. All right, Bart. What's up, Bart? Can you talk? Hey, how's it going, man? Yeah.
I'm at mute.
You hear me?
I'm multitasking.
All right. Well, I
can
got
hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you too. We're good.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, actually, I was just checking out that Eat Wild site as well, and I'm super excited to find there's a bunch of farms probably within 20 to 30 minutes of me.
That you never heard of, right? Like you would have never known.
Yeah,
Crazy.
exactly. And I've actually, it's not from not trying. I've found some other farms. A lot of them are like grass-fed, grain-finished.
Yeah.
I live kind of where I live in Loudoun County. It's very interesting because we're kind of split in east and west. So the east is more of urban kind of city, a lot of businesses, a lot of IT jobs, and then the west was more rural. That's kind of slowly transforming. And actually, out here they have what they call ecotourism. So a lot of the farms out here are set up from the eastern side to come out on like the weekends and spend their day on the farm, and everything is priced that way.
Yeah,
priced for the tourists.
Right. It's like Disneyland where all the peasants live all the time.
It is. I mean, there's a farm not far from me that I used to belong to a CSA there.
Yeah.
And that is more like an amusement park now than it is an actual farm.
Wow. Yeah, see, it's funny. They start
Someday.
changing what used to be like a CSA or a cow share. Suddenly they only sell like, a few 8-ounce prime ribs and a few ribeyes and a few sirloins in a box for like $300. You're like, wait, what? What happened to, this buy half a cow or a quarter of a cow thing? Yeah, suddenly they're just marketing to somebody who buys, a little bit of good quality meat. That's it. The parts of this meat economy are getting really annoying. Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have a farm store set up, and it's exactly that. So now you go in and you get your one cut of meat out of the freezer and pay too much for it.
Yeah, but there's still real farms around, and there hopefully more people step up to fill that in and to fill that niche, because if they don't, then it's going to keep getting more pushed towards industrial ag, and then these really big boutique, expensive, overpriced meat producers might end up with a big share of the market, and also end up investing big money into pushing more of this like carbon taxing narrative, where they're like, okay, look, we paid for this study with Kellogg, and they found that our Kellogg helped to pay because we supply their dog treats with organ meats from our animals, and they did this study for us, and it shows that we sequester this much carbon. So then they go to these big organizations who are trying to set up these big scams, and they say, look, we sequester this much carbon because we paid for this study done by the MacArthur Foundation or something, who pays for it, and we want subsidies. Like they want to get like a carbon subsidy, and then everyone else gets carbon taxed, and it becomes this like it's a big scam for making things more expensive, and it ends up hurting the end consumer. I hope it doesn't go in that direction. That's the direction that the big ag companies want to push it. Where like most people can only afford the Walmart type stuff, and that's a shame when that happens. And it really I think people are realizing it, though. I think a lot of people are stepping up, and people want to produce their own foods, have their own backyard chickens and goats. And if you support those people on Eat Wild, like the people you find in 20 minutes within your area, that's great. If we can, if these type of people can get to their, to the consumer effectively, it'll help everybody.
Yeah, so I did find one I'm going to check out. They've got grass-fed and finished beef, pork, and lamb, and they sell eggs from grass-fed hens. So they're like 20 minutes from me, so I'm definitely going to reach out to them and see what I can do. It looks like they have a store set up too, but it's like you set an appointment, you come out and meet them the first time, and then after that, it's kind of looks like a trust-based thing. You just go and take what you want and then leave your payment. So that could work out quite well for me, actually.
That's so cool.
Virginia hippies are so trusting.
But you can tell that's the kind of farm that really cares about what they're doing, right? And that's, I think, where a lot of the farmers have an actual problem is because they're so dedicated to their craft and they're actually out there during the day working with the animals and taking care of them and making sure that their pastures are on point, and they're not on the computer, right, marketing themselves and promoting their brand. So it's really, that's like the sharing aspect is so important. Like if you connect with somebody, I mean, share it like with the people that you know and your family and your community. And I mean, I think that goes for everybody, no matter where you are in the world, is like really voting with your dollar and supporting these types of businesses.
Yep, so I'm set up. I've already got a chest freezer. Like I said, I had belonged to a CSA before, so it's actually been sitting mostly empty. So to get back into buying in bulk and filling up that freezer and making, like maybe twice a month trips and kind of planning my meals around what I have, that's good. That was very pleased to find that.
Perfect.
I've been trying to make the changes you suggested on Monday as well.
Uh-huh.
Monday was a little tough for me. I kind of wasn't prepared for that change, and that's one of my long days where I work out till 8, and then I pick up my daughter from gymnastics at 9 and don't eat until like 9:45. But then Tuesday and yesterday, I got all my infat in. Probably I tried for 4. That's a little tough for me, but 5:30. And that gives me an hour before I go work out. And then I wasn't hungry at all. Even come like breakfast the next morning, both yesterday and today. So I felt pretty good. I've had plenty of energy. I slept better, I think, actually. Not having that late night meal was probably what helped there, but I definitely felt great. And I'm usually kind of a restless, light sleeper, and I slept soundly. Oh,
yeah,
so far.
Those are all really good indicators. I mean, that everything you've told me right there tells me that you're on the right track, and it's hard to tell after just a few days of some changes, but it sounds like you're getting clear indicators that it is working.
Yeah, I mean, I did weigh myself and I did lose a few pounds, but in person, I can fluctuate by a few pounds, so I'm not going to get too excited about that right now. It's going to be a little more long term there, but
yeah, it's so, like in 2 weeks. Right. In 2 weeks, you'll have a good idea of what's going on.
Yeah, it actually eliminated a lot of stress for me too, because usually I'm get home late and I'm like, I got to feed the kids, I got to get, cooking and everything, and I'm still feeding my kids, obviously, but what I'm doing is that the meal is already done, and then, it's just a matter of they eat when they're available or when they're ready to eat, and I just don't have that late night meal anymore. So I've actually found like I have more time to do other things and not have to stress about that part of it. So it's kind of a double benefit there for me.
Nice. Yeah, that's perfect, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Let me know how the farm visits go. I want to hear about hear about what they got and what your haul looks like. Maybe throw some pictures up in the chat here if you can.
Sure, I'd love to do that.
Cool.
It looks good. I mean, I don't know what they have, but the website, well, I don't know what they have in stock, but it says they list like beef tongue, liver, heart.
Yeah, try tongue. So I want someone to try tongue, and I want to. It's everybody that I've heard that's tried tongue has loved it, except a few people. So a few people are like, I don't like the texture, and most people say they love it and it's their favorite.
They say it's their favorite. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've actually had tongue, and it's not bad. There's a local like street style Mexican taqueria.
Nice.
Beef tongue tacos.
There you go.
Exactly.
And
that's the one.
those, and they're actually quite good.
Silence, boy. Yeah, man. Ryder objects. What are you doing?
No, you know what? This is how the recent tongue kick started for us. It's because I got one from the market the other day. Ariana, our daughter, wanted to try it. I brought it home and I cooked it, and then the 2 kids, they ate it all between them. They were just outside. They were in a little tent that they made on the patio, and they were gobbled it all like in record time, and they came back asking for more.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. My kids are not too keen on trying like the less popular cuts of meat and organ meats and them, but I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Like I said, I might.
Sometimes you
not
just
tell
make
them
it.
what I'm
You just make it, throw a little on the plate, and see if they try it. If they don't, and you take it and you eat it. You know,
Yeah,
just
you lead by example and give it some time. They'll come around.
Yep. That's what I'm hoping for.
cool, man. Well, Bart, let us know how it goes. Hope the weekend goes well, and we'll be back in here on Monday. So we'll talk to you on Monday, man.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, have a great one. Let us know. I'm looking
too.
forward to the pictures. We'll be looking out for those.
Sounds good. All right. Talk to you all soon.
Later, Bart. What's up, Adam?
How's it going?
Hey, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. Everything's gone pretty well this week.
Yeah. All right. Cool. What's happened since Monday?
I mean, yeah, everything is kind of normal. I kind of overshot the numbers on Monday. I took pictures of like the food on the scale before I entered it in.
Yeah.
Instead of 140, 140, it was more like 190, 190.
Yeah.
But
No, dude, that's
Still okay.
fine. How did you feel with 190, 190? Like, how is your satiety and your energy?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty stuffed. I probably should have just kept them for later anyway. But
That's perfect. That's perfect. So you overshot and you were stuffed. You didn't overshoot and you were still hungry, because that would be kind of a bad situation to be in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like you want to find that point, which 140, 140. That's an estimate, man. You might be 150, 150 where you feel optimal. We just got to see how it goes. We don't want to restrict calories as much as we can. We're looking at getting as much food as you can to feel satiated, to get all the nutrients you need, and then allow your body to burn body fat comfortably for a long period of time to where you don't have to think about it much. That's the goal.
yeah, sleep was also pretty good this week. So
That's perfect, man. And it's only been a couple days, so you'll have an even better idea by Monday. So you'll be
yeah.
Sounds like you're well on your way. So sleep's good, satiety's good. Any changes on the scale at all?
Yeah, I mean the normal. It's probably down like 8 pounds or so, like the normal water weight loss at the beginning.
Yeah. So some of that's water, some of that's probably fat, though. I mean, the water or fat, carry around 8 pounds in your hand all day and tell me that that's insignificant. I mean, doesn't matter what it is. Like, that's a lot of weight. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. I mean, whatever you need, let us know. If you got any questions, I think we're gonna wrap it up. My parents actually, they're down here in Ecuador visiting, so we're about to go meet them. And when they wake up from their nap, they didn't sleep last night because they took it.
Sound so old. That's out of context.
Well, they're not old. They slept very little last night, so they're taking a nap. Jessica's they don't need naps all the time. They're not elderly. Yeah, so we're excited for that. What's your weekend looking like? What's the rest of your week looking like?
Pretty much just hanging out with the kids, and you'll probably try to find some kind of like fall festival thing or something.
Cool.
Some pumpkins or something this weekend.
There you go.
Yeah, the only question I kind of had was just kind of advice looking towards like a workout routine. Because I'm interested in the stuff that like you've kind of more done like functional and movement. And
Yeah. Kettlebells are fun.
that kind
what do you want to do? You want to do something at home, or do you want to go to a gym?
Right now at home, and I have like kettlebells, battle ropes, dumbbells.
Yeah.
I don't really have like a spotter or anything for like heavy like squats or benches really.
How heavy are the kettlebells you have?
What's that?
What weight are the kettlebells that you have?
Right now I just have some lighter ones. I was actually just about to order some probably like 45, 55 ones because actually I live like Rogue is like a mile away from me anyway, so
Get like a 70-pound kettlebell too. Get like a heavier one, because I mean you're what, 260 right now, right? Or 250?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you're strong, right? So too light. There's great stuff you can do with small kettlebells, right? Like upper body work. You can isolate a lot of muscles, and you can swing and work your hips and work your mobility and throwing type motions with some smaller ones. But you also want one that's going to give you a little bit of struggle, right? So you do like two-handed, straight kettlebell swing. So I think getting a little heavier kettlebell and then working on like a kettlebell routine at home would be a really good idea. Something really simple like, alternating one arm kettlebell swing for a few sets and then, two-handed heavy kettlebell swing for 3 or 4 sets and do that, 2, 3 times a week. Even practicing with some other simple movement like Turkish get-ups and stuff like that. You ever do those?
I haven't actually tried them.
Yeah, there's some funky movements that you can do that are like really central nervous system and mental focus and acuity intensive. Those are kind of fun because they're kind of like physiologically exhausting without being so hard on your joints or anything like that. So kettlebells are really fun. So yeah, get a little heavier one. Get like a 45 pound, maybe get like a 55 or 70 pound, and I think kettlebells would probably be one of the better tools for you to mess with. As far as like a routine, there's so many different movements you could do with kettlebells. I think a good place to start is Pavel. Have you seen that guy, Pavel? Pavel?
Yeah, that was actually one of the, it's like enter the kettlebell or whatever.
Yeah.
Was one of the ones I think I was starting off with.
Start off with that because it's a good introduction, but don't just leave it there. Move on from that to a little bit more, start with that. Great place to start, and then from there, there's like one arm kettlebell swings. I don't even know if he does that in his introduction. I don't think he does, but they're like one arm kettlebell swings, kettlebell snatches with lighter weight. These are really good movements too. There's a lot of stuff you can do with the kettlebell. So start with Pavel and expand from there.
Okay, yeah, perfect. That's kind of what I think would be most enjoyable to me anyway.
Yeah, and you can do kettlebells. I mean, you're not doing max weight, right? As long as you're not doing like insane, super difficult and way too difficult workouts, you could do 3 days a week, 4 days a week, like whatever you want. You could do it every day if you regulate it and don't go too hard.
Okay. Is there like what do you all think about like the zone 2, like kind of like cardio type stuff?
It's fine. I mean, cardio's great, man. But look, when you're 260, I mean, going for a 15-minute walk twice a day, that's good cardio. When you're when you're 160, that's also great cardio, right? Like a little bit of walking every once in a while. I mean, sometimes people like to take it the next step and start monitoring their heart rate, keeping it in a certain zone, and all that stuff's great. It just depends on who's doing it, right? And why you're doing it.
Yeah, that's what more like. Do you think it's worth the trouble of like trying to keep it within like 5 or 10 beats or something, or like?
Yeah, I mean, if it's fun to you and it makes it, and if it adds a dimension of fun and you're improving and you're enjoying it, yeah. For some people, it's just like they just want to go for a walk. I mean, so yeah, sure, but not necessarily for everybody in every case. Like if you're drawn towards it, you might want to try it. Try it and do it a few times, and it's a way of tracking progress. It's a way of making sure that you're improving, right? Whereas some people, they go around and they go to the gym, they throw around some weights, they're not doing enough weight, they're not increasing their volume enough, they're not getting the adaptation in their muscles that they really want to because they're messing around. If you're that type of person, then having that strict routine, that can be great. But if you're the kind of person who pushes hard and who, doesn't need that, then maybe not so important.
Okay.
Cool. All right, man. Well, let us know how it goes, and thanks for sharing. Super excited for you.
And also just a quick note, like I've also bought from the Eat Wild website. That's how I found the farmer I just got. So yeah, it's definitely a good resource.
Perfect. That's so cool. Yeah, I just wish that was our website. I just wish we made the dang website. We're gonna make a different one. We're gonna rip off Eat Wild and no, that's a lot of work to make a website like that. I don't know how do you know how they monetize it?
They sell ebooks, but I don't know.
You don't think they monetize it that much, huh? Yeah, they've built a really good resource, and they've it seems like it's more like a public service website and they haven't even monetized it that much. So that's really cool. I'm stoked that that's out there. Hopefully, people keep adding to it and building it. Maybe we'll make sure to promote it some more. Hearing how much you guys are enjoying it. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up now. It's been really nice talking to everybody. I'm glad we got to hit on everything everyone wanted to talk about. If you're listening to this later on as we post this, feel free to ask us whatever questions you've got. If there's something that we didn't cover that you're just itching to ask us, you can send us a private message. This coming Monday, we're going to be talking about what's the next lesson, babe?
Meal timing and frequency.
Meal timing and frequency. So we're going to talk about optimizing your circadian rhythm and the timing of your meals, which we've already spoilered so many different ways in the last couple of weeks because we got so many people here eager to learn. So we're going to learn a little bit more and reiterate some of these principles that we've talked about before about meal timing, about reducing hunger and increasing satiety, and optimizing our circadian rhythm as well through the timing of our meals. So let's have a great weekend. You guys let us know if you need anything, and we will see you on Monday. Same place, same time. Bye, guys.
Bye.